Despite the lies being continually churned out by the mass media lately, there is no recovery going on in the world's economy. In fact, the global economic disintegration is speeding up due to a physical collapse of production and credit available for economic development. American economist and statesman Lyndon LaRouche, in his international webcast on June 27th, explained that no recovery from the current global economic disintegration is possible without dumping the current worldwide British monetary system and replacing it with an American-style credit system as outlined in the United States Constitution. Despite this collapse in the world economy and an accelerating collapse of Australia's economy, our government and their radical friends in the insane environmentalist movement are continuing to push for the implementation of nation-destroying policies such as a Carbon Pollution Reduction Scheme, CPRS, and a Carbon Cap and Trade Scheme. These policies, if implemented, would plonk a few extra $1,000s of taxes on each working Australian family and business as punishment for their evil emissions of carbon dioxide. But more significantly, these policies will kill people by preventing economic development. The plan to implement global carbon trading markets, known as genocidal cap and trade, are going to destroy the physical economy of the planet and kill billions of people, and that is their intent. Early on in 2007, American economist Lyndon LaRouche declared war against the IPCC's genocidal global warming hoax and against its ambassador, Al Gore. In Australia, LaRouche's associates in the Citizens Electoral Council and the LaRouche Youth Movement threw down the gauntlet to Gore and the IPCC at the CEC National Conference in February of 2007. Emboldened by LaRouche and by the CEC, an increasing number of scientists around the world and in Australia have come out challenging the lies of the environmentalists and those around Al Gore's army of trained climate clones. Shortly after, in April of 2007, the Citizens Electoral Council printed 500,000 copies of their New Citizen newspaper with the headline, "Global Warming is a Fraud," documenting the astronomical evidence that the Earth is due for another ice age and that the IPCC had committed fraud in their climate projections, drawing upon false historic CO2 data. But more importantly, that April 2007 New Citizen outlined the true intention behind the environmentalist policies of global warming: genocide. The release of that bombshell intervention onto the streets and into the institutions of Australia has since catalysed a shift in thinking on the subject of global warming. More Australians are in doubt, and many more are starting to recognise this for the fraud that it is. The question which many are now beginning to ask is, for what reason is this hoax being pushed? This is the question that will be answered in an upcoming special report available on this website and from the CEC. This report will blow the lid off the true agenda behind global warming and the genocidal roots of environmentalism overall. First of all, look at the scientific evidence as it stands up to date about what is going on in our climate. On May 24th of this year, the first Australian Symposium on Natural Climate Change was conducted at Monash University in Victoria, much to the horror of that university's educational establishment. In attendance were scientists David Archibald, Ian Wilson, Bill Kinnenmuth, Lance Endersby, Richard Mackey, and Bob Carter. Each of these scientists presented the multitudes of different dynamic patterns, cycles and shifts in the climate which have been observed over centuries and millennia, and thoroughly refuted those who claim that it is human beings who cause climate change. More significantly, the overwhelming observation from all the scientists at the symposium was the threat posed to human population by the world's current cooling trend. David Archibald, for example, presented his own investigative work into the relationship between solar sunspot activity and Earth temperature, issuing a guarantee that future cooling trend will hit the Earth. This is owing to the Sun, as a result of a longer than usual solar sunspot cycle 24, which is likely to cause cooling at a level not seen on Earth in more than 200 years. This cooling trend already began in 1998 and has continued up to today, despite a small rise in atmospheric carbon dioxide levels over the same period. This is the irony which is right now driving Independent Senator Steve Fielding to look for answers and to question the government on their claims that mankind is causing a warming of the planet. However, for the government to supply a truthful explanation for this seeming irony, it would fly in the face of that impending train wreck which they are currently adamant about riding. The evidence is there, and more scientists are presenting their own findings and research, further confirming these natural drivers of dynamic astronomical cycles and other longer-term variations which are driving our climate today. So what makes global warming a genocidal policy? It is the very intention to deny to all nations around the world necessary industrial development and economic improvements in living standards. Behind the arguments for a nonsensical reduction in carbon dioxide emissions lies the intent to reduce world population by the billions. This is summed up clearly by the Malthusian commitment of that founder of the World Wildlife Fund, Prince Philip, the personal controller of Al Gore.
In the event that I am reincarnated, I would like to return as a deadly virus, in order to contribute something to solve overpopulation.
As we shall prove in this soon-to-be-released report, modern environmentalism, including the global warming fraud, was set up by the British Eugenics Society and by the British Crown itself. It was, after all, H.G. Wells together with Julian Huxley, another of the co-founders of the WWF, while also a key member of the British Eugenics Society, who invented modern environmentalism. H.G. Wells's plans for mass genocide were not exactly hidden.
And how will the new republic treat the inferior races? How will it deal with the black? How will it deal with the yellow man? How will it tackle that alleged termite in the civilized woodwork, the Jew? And for the rest, those swarms of black and brown and dirty white and yellow people who do not come into the new needs of efficiency. Well, the world is a world, not a charitable institution, and I take it they will have to go. The whole tenor and meaning of the world, as I see it, is that they have to go. So far as they fail to develop sane, vigorous, and distinctive personalities for the great world of the future, it is their portion to die out and disappear.
Right now, in the midst of this financial collapse, there is a commitment to massively reduce the world's population. The policies of cutting carbon dioxide emissions and preventing nuclear power development are part of the means to bring this about, to bring about a new dark age. At this moment, many people in the scientific institutions of Australia understand the implications of what a carbon tax and a cap and trade policy will mean for a world already dangerously short of freshwater resources and energy supplies. It is the moral responsibility of scientists to tell the truth, and if the consequences of a decision will cause the deaths of human beings here in Australia or in other parts of the world, it is their responsibility to call it what it is. With the Australian government plans to pass these policies in August, the CEC and the LaRouche Youth Movement are mobilising to expose these environmental policies for what they are. So keep yourself informed and up to date, join the fight and mobilise with us to prevent a moral and economic catastrophe being dumped on the planet now.